So you've been bitten by the idea and you absolutely want to buy a boat and go cruising. What sorts of things can you do to make sure that cruising is successful? Hi, I'm Nika Waters and welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. Today I'm sharing my top 3 tips for successful cruising. And hint, it's got nothing to do with the kind of anchor you want to buy. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Lunatech, makers of the hydration spray bottle, odor-free dishcloth, and self-cleaning washcloth. Lunatech offers practical gear designed to save water and reduce waste. A water bottle that doubles as a hose? A dishcloth that doesn't get stinky? Yes, please. Visit lunatechgear.com to learn more. Use code BOATGALLEY to save 10% on everything. Lunatech, innovative gear for your outdoor adventures. I think I'll just start this podcast by saying everybody's definition of cruising and successful cruising is different. You've heard me talk about the idea that the best answer for any question about cruising is it depends, and the same is true when it comes to defining a successful cruise. But I think I'll just preface this podcast by saying that to me, a successful cruise means that you come back feeling accomplished and happy and not full of regrets for having taken the time to do that, whatever it was. So what are some things that you can do to stack the odds more in your favor? Because cruising is a challenging lifestyle. It's really different than anything that you've done before. Even if you've lived small, even if you've lived simple, even if you've been on a boat, or even if you've lived in an RV, or if you've chartered, when you start to go cruising and you are living on the boat and relying on yourself, it can be much more challenging than even the most realistic videos out there that you're going to find. So I thought I would share my 3 best tips for ways to make that cruise as successful as you can. Tip number 1 is slow down. And there's a very big reason why this is the theme song for this podcast right here, is that slowing down in every single sense of the word is the best tip that I have for successful cruising. Slow down your expectations. It may be that you bought the boat and you feel like you want to sail around the world, and so you tell everybody that you're going to sail around the world, and maybe you will. That's great. But maybe you won't. And how sad if what you wind up having as a great cruise, which involves going down the Chesapeake Bay or exploring your backyard bay in California or wherever you happen to be, and you do that and you realize that that's for you, but then you feel like you can't feel successful because you've told everybody that you're going around the world and you didn't. So slow down your expectations and other people's expectations. Slow down your schedule. When you're used to living in a world that moves at 60 miles an hour, slowing down to a world that moves at 5 knots can be hard to wrap your brain around. So rather than saying, hey, I'm going to be in Grenada on the 25th of November in 2022, say, I don't know where I'm going to be. I'll see. I'll let you know. I'll figure it out when I get there. Slow down your plans. When things get tough, and they will get tough, for all of us they get hard, take time to breathe and slow down. And maybe it is that you just can't just keep go because you're exhausted and you are tired and you just need to be able to find a place where you can do your laundry or something. Take the time to stop and breathe and slow down and help you get your perspective back. So tip number 1, and this is the best tip that I can give anybody who's talking about going cruising, is to just slow down. Really, slow down. Tip number 2 for you is that attitude matters. I think this might be better stated or differently stated as manage your expectations. And of course, this goes along with tip number 1, right? If you are deciding to yourself, hey, I need to get to Grenada by Christmas this year, and it's July, and your boat's still in the boatyard. Does this sound familiar? Because yes, our boat is still in the boatyard. And yes, we've had people say to us, well, where are you going to be for Christmas? We need to know. If we manage to explain to our families that we can't tell them where we're going to be for Christmas, we'll figure it out as we get closer, and we understand that they have plans that they need to make. And if we can meet up with them, then we will, and it will be great. And if we can't, that's just fine. But really, a lot of this attitude matters tip is that sometimes your mental state and the way that you look at things can absolutely color your experience. So if you go into cruising thinking that it's all only ever going to be beaches and umbrella drinks, then the first time that a squall runs through in the middle of the night and you've forgotten to close the hatches, and then the anchor starts to drag, and actually you were up too late the night before and so you were exhausted and it's hard for you to move around, you may think that you've screwed up massively and oh my gosh, it's really only ever supposed to be perfect and amazing, and what did I do wrong? I should quit. That's one attitude matters thing. But if you think that it's only going to be terrible and horrible all the time, you will absolutely find ways to see that aspect all the time. If you think that it's going to be a nice balance and mix of good times and bad times, and you manage to look for the good times where you can and realize that the bad times are just there to maybe highlight the good times, you will have a better time and be able to be more successful in your cruising if you realize that there are ups and downs and there are different things that go into it. But your mentality and your mindset can be huge with the whole thing. Be realistic, but also be flexible. Leave yourself open for amazing new opportunities and new experiences, because that's such an incredible part of cruising. And the third big tip on successful cruising that I'm going to share today is that communication is key. And communication with the person and people that you're on the boat with. Talk about everything, every single thing, and not just with your friends on social media. Talk to the people that you're on the boat with. Mind reading isn't possible. So you have to talk about it. You have to talk about the little things. And you have to talk and keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. And more to the point, you have to listen openly. Life on a boat is sometimes really challenging and hard, and it can be hard for different people in many different ways. And if you're feeling the weight of expectations, talk about attitude is everything and managing your expectations. But if you feel like the weight of the world is on you and you need to make sure everything is perfect, if your partner talks to you about things that are going wrong, it may be really easy for you to get defensive, where your partner is just trying to say, hey, I'm sad and worried and aren't sure of what's going on. It's not a criticism of what is going on. It's an expression of your partner's feelings. So listen openly. Don't try to think that everything that's being said is against you. It's often just a matter of emotions and different people needing different things and feeling the challenges in different ways. But when you're on a boat with your partner or with your family, you're relying on each other for everything. And if you can't talk about what's bothering you or hear what's bothering the other person, tensions will build super, super, super fast. And sure, it can be hard to communicate, but don't hide behind a keyboard and hide behind your group of friends on social media, because it's easier to do that than to talk to your partner. Talk to your partner and the other people on the boat and listen openly and set aside some time to do that, because it's an incredibly rewarding experience to go through this together, and it can be also super challenging, but communication is absolutely key. So those are 3 tips. I have lots more, but those are the 3 biggies. Number 1 is to slow down. Number 2, your attitude matters. And number 3, communication is absolutely key. I can't wait to share an anchorage with you when we're both out successfully cruising somewhere down the way. Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. We love hearing from our listeners. There are links to both Carolyn's email and mine in the show notes. We love it when you share us with your friends, and we love it when you don't forget to subscribe. There are 2 of these that come out every week. Have the most spectacular one.